Harvey is in Lincolnshire, and the benefits issue is a big one, and I know it's something you're familiar with in terms of your own work, Harvey. Just tell us your story, Harvey, in Lincolnshire. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, Peter, great. Nice speaking to you, and great show. Truly, great show.
Thank you.
Pulls on the heartstrings. Yeah, we've all got mental issues. Let's start quickly, very quickly. We've all got what they call mental issues. You've got it, I've got it, your producer's got it. We don't go to the doctor banging on the door and saying we've got mental issues. If we enjoy our job, and if we're working, and paying the bills, those that are banging on the door and complaining about that, I'm sorry, but it's not all down to that. Get yourselves out there and get work, because you people on benefits need to have your benefits cut to the point where you've not got flat screens, you've not got mobility cars that you shouldn't be having. You shouldn't have what's this called? These what they're called prescriptions for
free prescriptions, yeah.
Prescriptions for telly, being on Sky and all these silly stupid programs. Stick to the TV station that you're watching now that's free, even though you pay a TV license. You're paying for all these other channels. These are people on benefits. Go to the pubs every morning at 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. They're not working.
It's not all of them, though, Harvey. There are many people who should get...
Peter, it's most of them, my friend, because I'm a landlord, right? I'm a landlord, and I've got tenants that don't want to work and won't work, and they're scroungers. Yes, it pays my bills, but I'm angry. No one wants to do anything about it. I've got a woman that's in a property that's got a brand spanking new car on the drive, never worked in her life, and complains about everything. What does she complain about? Nothing. She goes to the doctors every day, and every day they've got to treat her, because by law you've got to be treated by a doctor. She's banging on the door. She's got backache, legache, arseache. She's got it, Peter, and there's nothing wrong with her. So listen, we need to buckle down with this nanny state giving all this money away, because on the dole you're better off, Peter. You're better off on the dole. It's common. Get me on the board. I don't want paying. I want to straighten this country up. Take the blue badges off some of them because they're abusing them. Take the free cars off them because they're abusing them. You can't go to a car boot. Peter, one more thing.
Okay.
You can't go to a car boot in the morning at 5 o'clock with a mobility car and get away with it. A mobility car is for a vehicle, for a car to be used for somebody. My father lost his leg to his groin, lost his leg. To give him nothing. I was 11 years of age. I'm 60 now. They give him nothing. Zero.
You have no sympathy for people who... What about people who are genuinely disabled?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've just recently had a triple heart bypass. A year ago at Easter, a massive heart attack out the side of Co-op. Didn't let me go home. Grimsby for 3 weeks. Thank you, NHS Grimsby. Thank you, NHS Hull, for saving my life. Dr. Zoot. God bless you, everybody. Put a pacemaker in at Easter. Do you know what I'm entitled to? Shall I tell you what I'm entitled to? They'd even asked for my assets and what was worth. £333 a month, a blue badge and a free car. Tell you what you can do with that, Peter. Keep it.
Okay.
My father lost his leg, Peter, and they gave him nothing. Zero. You can go in there now with a bad back and tell them you've got depression and everything else. They want you out the door.
Okay.
They want you out the door.
Harvey, you've covered an awful lot there. That is what Michael in Manchester has done. Michael, good morning.
Morning, Peter.
What would you like to say?
What I'd like to say is we're running some kind of zombie economy here. I'm sick to death of listening to politicians talking about taking money off poor people when we bail banks out. I mean, all of these people are in cahoots with each other. They're a bunch of treasonous rats. Honestly, I'm sick to death of hearing these people. And by the way, I'm speaking to you from the Northern Poorhouse. Not the Northern Powerhouse.
Right, okay. And is there anything that... We got this autumn statement this week, big economic moves. Anything Jeremy Hunt could say that could bring you back into the fold?
Not a thing. But what I will say to Jeremy Hunt is, right, I'm going to get a T-shirt made up and I want him to go and walk in one of these Palestine marches with something like Down with Hamas, right, and I Club Jihadists, right, and we'll see if he keeps his head on his shoulders more than...
Well, it's really interesting you mentioned that, actually, Michael, because we've had a situation where someone actually held up a placard saying Hamas are terrorists during one of those marches, and the placard was pulled down and that person was verbally abused for that. So I think you make a very good point there. Thanks for your comments this morning. David is in Wakefield. David's given me a ring, 0344 499 1000. David, you're very welcome. What would you like to say?
Good morning, Peter. Right, Rishi Sunak has branded our council. Our council's called Kirklees Council.
Okay.
We're absolutely deprived. Dewsbury, Huddersfield, Batley, it's become, I'm sorry to say, they've become a downtrodden dump. We've closed, our council has been Labour run for many, many decades. Not Conservative, Labour. And it's like a lot of the Labour councils in this country that have gone bankrupt or on the verge of bankruptcy.
Yeah, we've seen that with Birmingham. We've seen that with other councils as well. Yeah, so things are really tough there.
Yeah, well, so what they're going to do, they're on about, we'll put car parking charges up in our town. Nobody comes to our town. The town is finished. Sports centres have closed. Swimming baths have closed. Yet these councillors and predominantly are Muslim councillors that's in our Kirklees. They have been leaving because of this anti-Semitism. Now, we're on about this election coming up, Peter, soon, but, general election, and they're all saying, Labour will win it. Well, I'll tell you this, I can see a lot of Conservatives MPs that will be going and defecting possibly to Reform Party, and a lot of these Labour MPs, they won't be standing for Labour when our general election comes.
Well, it'll be really interesting, David. You make some interesting points there. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see. There are something like 63 constituencies that have a majority Muslim vote. I was told by someone who knows these things yesterday. It'll be really interesting to see what happens, especially in the context of the Gaza vote. I'm not saying for a second, and it is factually not true, that all Muslims vote Labour or all Muslims think the same way. Of course they don't. You wouldn't say that about any other ethnic grouping, but certainly the Labour Party has a lot of support from many Muslims in this country, so it'll be fascinating to see what happens. I'll take a couple of calls here. Hugh is in Hastings in East Sussex. Hugh, thanks for giving us a call at 0344 499 1000. I know you want to talk about immigration and the Supreme Court, Hugh. Tell us your point.
Peter, I've simply got one question. I'm interested to know how many of the noble lords of the Supreme Court have actually taken the trouble to visit Rwanda to see for themselves the situation there firsthand.
I don't know the answer to that, Hugh. Do either of our panel know if any of the Supreme Court have been there?
It wouldn't be a very good way of working out whether its asylum system was going to
Want
be
to see it for
decisions.
yourself? I mean, Sheila Braverman went to see it. Surely that would be, rather than relying on what you're told, Richard?
No, in order to understand how a complex bureaucratic system is going to make really complex decisions about hundreds, possibly thousands of people, you've got to have you've got to have loads of people on the ground making very complex, nuanced judgments about how that bureaucracy works. And no, I don't think that a law lord going and visiting is a way of doing that.
Well, Supreme Court justice, but yes.
Sorry,
I mean,
yes,
I think seeing it up close is maybe not. It's maybe part of what would be a good idea. I think. Hugh, what do you think?
I think there's no substitute for seeing for yourself. I mean, were you aware that Boris Johnson sent out Lord Jonathan Marland, member of the House of Lords, to spend several days in Rwanda, seeing for himself and then reporting back fully to Johnson, to the Prime Minister, on conditions there? I'd be much more impressed if at least one, if not more, than noble law lords had seen for themselves firsthand. I
think I agree with you, Hugh. Seeing things firsthand, in as well as reading and hearing lots about it, is a good idea. Thank you so much for your call, Hugh. Do call again. Neville is in Newcastle. Tell us your thoughts again on immigration. Neville, you're very welcome to the programme this morning.
I'm just listening to your panel, and it's quite intriguing, the answers and all that. But as British people, why do we make everything so complicated? So, to the immigration, that I have a 15-minute rule. I can solve the problem in 15 minutes.
Tell us the short. We haven't got 15 minutes. Tell us your short version, Neville.
All I would do is take HMS Ark Royal, use our troops, put them in the French waters, stop all the boats immediately. Any way, shape or form, stop them.
Are you talking?
French would get a shock instead of paying the millions of pounds to stop people when they're doing quite clearly. The other issue is to your protesters, for the way everything went over the weekend, what I would recommend is you just put flights on the deck, as in put the people on the planes, take them to Palestine, and say if you want to protest there, and then see how many people don't turn out on the streets. Simple as that.
Rajat, good morning.
Good morning, Peter. I just wanted to raise 2 points. Number one, I heard your politician speaking about what the American government and British government in alliance with Sarkozy did to Libya. Mm-hmm. This was, I think, a disaster.
I agree with you.
a really, really wonderful, quite a country with a very, very high standard of living and a small population.
Under Gaddafi? Really?
Well, yeah, it was turned upside. Oh, yeah. You just got to look at the statistics. I mean, whatever you might think about the government, the people had an extremely high standard of living at that time. They had like free education, free healthcare.
Didn't have a lot of other freedoms, though.
Well, I mean, I don't think that. I think that, you see, there was a little. Basically, there was a kind of little disturbance in a certain part of the country, and the question was, did they have to act so fast to destabilize that situation, or did they have ulterior motives? And another thing is that his children had been, I mean, Gaddafi's sons had been had received a British education, and they had in their own small way given a certain amount of money to British institutions, and that's how they got rewarded.
Didn't necessarily make them nice people, Rajat.
I think that we also have to look at the consequences of what they did. The consequences were disastrous for Europe because of the way that it opened floodgates to immigration, because he was the one who was actually controlling a lot of potential immigration traffic. Okay. So it was ultimately completely backfired on whoever did what they did.
Okay, Rajat, you had a second point? Yeah.
My second point is that I think that dealing with politics in London, dealing with elections and voters, it's not about your opinion about who you think about what politician. For some of us living in London, it's like a concentration camp city. We can't go out without being charged the ULEZ fine. The charges simply because we're driving.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry, no, Rajat, no. Sorry, I'm not going to let you away with that. You're saying it's like living in a concentration camp to pay the ULEZ. I mean, that's very insulting to Rajat. Just let me speak for a second. Rajat, just let me speak, and then I promise I'll let you speak. I mean, using that kind of phrasing and that kind of links to concentration camps, the Nazis, and so on. I mean, is that really appropriate language? Is that really something you should be saying?
I'm not comparing it to. I'm comparing it to. I think that we have a lot of freedom of our freedom of movement is being impaired just because we have old cars, and it's about survival.
Well, ULEZ is definitely an issue, Rajat. There's no doubt about that. But all I would say is just look. We are the station of free speech. You can say what you want, but I think a lot of people will find that kind of language pretty offensive.
All right, I'm simply pointing out that changing the local politics, is about survival at the moment.
Okay, Rajat, thanks for your thoughts. Okay. Appreciate that. Lenny is in Ashford. Lenny, what point would you like to make?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Peter.
Hello.
Yeah, well, I truly believe that it is the government have killed the mentality of the workforce in England, and that is to fiddle the unemployment figures.
Well,
we have 3 people doing one man's job, and they're all on benefits.
Well, it's interesting. There are certainly lots of people. The plan from the government is if people don't even look for work after 6 months, this was the plan mooted yesterday in the Times, that they could have benefits taken off them, things like free prescriptions and free eye tests and so on. What do you think of that?
Well, I think the government's got to do something to change the mentality. Because what it is, I mean, when you've got 3 people doing one man's job and they're all on benefits, that makes it, only creates the system that we've got.
Well, there are definitely lots of challenges by it. Let's talk to Julie in Hampshire. Julie, I understand you are an employer yourself. What do you make of this controversy?
Hello, good morning to you, Peter.
Good morning.
I'm speaking with experience of trying to employ someone in fairly low-paid jobs in a community centre. And usually, in the old days, if I can go back, the job centre was a place where people who were unemployed would go in and they would look at the cards for jobs being advertised. They would pick up a job and then take it to someone at the desk who would see if they were suitable. If they were, that person at the desk would put them forward to the employer for an interview.
Yeah.
Then they turn to a digital program. So now people who are unemployed have to go in a job centre. They have to apply online to something like Indeed. As an employer, I would then put a job up on Indeed.
Just because some people might not know what Indeed is, but that Indeed.co.uk, I think it's one of those kind of websites that just put jobs are put on, job advertisements are put on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would then have a massive amount of people wanting to have that one particular job. Obviously, I had to go through them, filter them. What I was getting was people applying from the north for a job in the south.
Right.
Obviously, they would get thank you very much, but no thank you straight away.
Yes.
But from their point of view, they could go to their benefits.
Oh, they'd applied for a job. They'd applied for a job. Right. Interesting.
Which they know they're not going to get.
Okay.
And then there are people locally who apply but just cannot get that job because there are just too many people apply. Specifically, that relates to jobs in supermarkets, etc. After a while, genuine people looking for jobs say, do you know what, I never get a look in.
Yeah.
I never get an answer.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I've been successful or not, so I just hang on waiting and I hear nothing because employers can't respond to every single job. So my idea would be go back 50 years, go back to job centres where there are people sitting at desks, where the local employers can put a card in and say, this is what we're looking for.
Or even just restrict people, or even if you are using the digital system, to say, hold on a second, what is reasonable for you to go? I mean, there are people who travel a long way for jobs. There are people who spend 2 hours on the train or the bus every day getting to work, but more. But realistically, if you live in Leeds, you're not going to go and work for your business in Hampshire, Julie. And that there's something that needs to be sorted out there. That's an abuse of the system in itself, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. And the job centre should be working for both parties. It should be working for the employer, the government, and in fact the unemployed. Make it easy for someone to walk in and search for a job and have a chance to get employed, because I'm talking mainly about the low-paid jobs, the local jobs. It would be better for the employer, it would be better for the employee, and you can match good people.
Julie, that makes a heck of a lot of sense, and thank you for it. A really interesting perspective there from an employer. That was Julie in Hampshire. Thank you for that. Martin is in Isleworth in West London. Martin, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say?
Yes, well, I sympathise with the previous caller. What seems to be left out of the equation virtually all the time is the extent to which the process of hiring is abused by, particularly by recruitment agents, but also by some employers, I have to say. I mean, I can quote you several examples if you're interested.
Go for it. Give us an example.
Yes. Well, first of all, is pipelining. That's the process by which a recruitment agent or an employer will advertise jobs knowing perfectly well they're not going to hire anybody, just so they have a convenient suite of candidates if business picks up, for example.
Right, okay, so they have the sort of CVs on file kind of thing.
One, the laws pertaining to equality are blatantly, are flagrantly violated. I mean, you get people advertising for recent graduates. I'm a graduate, but I'm over 50, so
it wasn't recent.
Nobody hires me. That's actually indirect discrimination.
Yeah, well, it is. It's basically ageism. Yeah.
So now I could go on. The point is that the recruitment process is so massively abused by so many people that it means that if you're just like a local job seeker and all you want to do is work at the local supermarket, you haven't got a hope.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you see, the people that you're up against, they can afford lawyers, which means that they're never prosecuted. You see, the only people who are ever prosecuted are the unemployed because they haven't got anybody to fight back with. So
that's interesting. So you think there's an easy target there?
Exactly.
In a way, Jeff, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say?
Yeah, people on benefits. As per usual, Conservatives are trying to create a culture war, attacking people on benefits, saying they're in bed while you're getting up on the morning, going to work. They still have their blinds closed.
I mean, that is factually the case in some times.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, we've had a lot of viewers and listeners. I've seen it personally. We've seen a lot of viewers and listeners.
You see, we're listening to this nonsense. How come I'm claiming benefits now because my factory burned down? I'm having to claim benefits. And what you've got to do to claim universal credit, you've got to attend meetings every week. They can call you in whenever they want. You can't plan your life. They can call you into a meeting anytime you want. You can't plan your life. You go in, you see your work coach. You don't really get any help getting a job. They say, right, apply for this job. So you apply for a job. And universal credit, I'm getting, £368 a month. It's barely enough to live on. And then we hear, benefit claimants are getting thousands of pounds a month. They've got
you're not, Jeff, but some people are getting more than that £368 a week for different reasons.
It's all right saying some are getting, but what? Oh, are these people? How many?
Well, there will be people, Jeff, who have children.
Saying that everybody has fiddling benefit system.
No, Jeff. I'm not saying for a second that everybody is, but there are some people who do.
Well, how many are?
Well,
but
I mean,
I'll tell you something. I can't fiddle the benefit system.
Okay.
Because I'm called into meetings at any time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. It's either get a job or you don't have a life.
What's stopping you getting a job, Jeff? I'm really sorry to hear the factory.
I'm applying for jobs.
Yeah.
I'm applying for jobs, but
how long have you been unemployed? Jeff, are you still there?
That's it. I'm applying for jobs. I'm doing everything that works.
I'm sure you are, Jeff. How long have you been unemployed?
Well, it's a long story that I can't.
But you don't need to tell me everything if you don't want to, Jeff. But just how long has it been?
Well, it's a long story, but I've been claiming benefits. It's about claiming benefits. I've been claiming benefits now for about 6 months.
Okay.
I've been living on my savings. I've been doing everything that works coach says.
Yeah.
Applying for jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm getting replies. I'm not getting if I don't get a reply, or I get sorry, you haven't been successful.
Right.
But it's not about me. It's about demonising benefit claimants. In other words, what Conservatives are saying is we don't have to bother about we don't have to look after benefit claimants because they're all on fiddle.
But you're not on the fiddle, Jeff. You personally are not on the fiddle. You're doing everything that you're being told to do. You're not going to be targeted by this. You're being given £368, and that is something that obviously.
Yeah, but that isn't guaranteed that I'm going to. My benefits can be stopped at any time because you've got to sign a contract saying you're actively searching for work.
I mean, many people, Jeff, I sympathise with your situation, and I really want you to get a job, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to have a good life.
It's not about me. It's about demonising people on benefits. People believe, they've got motorhomes. And they're living.
Some of them do, Jeff. The problem is not people like you, Jeff. The problem is not people like you. You're doing everything you've been told to do. You've lost from what you've told me. You've lost your job through absolutely no fault of your own. You're doing doing exactly what you've been told to do. You're applying for jobs. Hopefully you'll get one soon, and I really wish you all the very best. The problem is for some people who, like you, up until 6 months ago, I'm sure paid all your taxes, did everything you're meant to do, played by the rules. There are some people, not everybody, not you, but there are some people who are not playing by the rules, and there has to be something done about that.
Oh, well, how many are not playing by?
Well, we don't know because they're fiddling the system and we don't have those statistics.
If people are fiddling the system, then we have a broken system, don't we? And Conservatives have been in power for, 13 years. Now they're saying benefit system, everything's broken in this country. Now they're saying benefit system is broken.
Well, I think
everybody benefit. And what is really repulsive is cutting benefits, the most vulnerable in society, to pay tax cuts, to give tax cuts away.
Well, we've got the highest. Listen, that's a whole other issue. All of it's we've got to leave it there, Jeff, because we've got to go to a break. But thank you for your thoughts on that. In terms of tax cuts, we have the highest taxes as a proportion of what the country makes since the Second World War. So I think a lot of people would perhaps like a tax cut, especially people who are paying very high taxes and paying, struggling to bring up a family. But Paul, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to tell me?
Oh, hello, Peter. Yeah, Paul, I'm in Clerkenwell. This Chancellor, I'm not angry, I'm just a little bit fed up.
Okay.
I've heard about that he's going to be giving inheritance tax cuts.
Yeah, that's certainly what's been mooted for what Jeremy Hunt may well talk about on Wednesday. Do you think that's the right idea, Paul?
Well, it might be the right idea, but I don't think so, because it is a small amount of people. But what they're talking about, I'm unemployed, I've been unemployed for a while, and they're talking about now is stopping our prescriptions and cutting our benefits.
Well, just if you're not looking for work, it's not for everybody. But how long have you been unemployed, Paul?
Just over 8 years.
Right. Okay. And you haven't been able to find a job in that time?
No, there's nothing. There's just nothing about. You know, I've look. I'm always applying for jobs and things, but there's absolutely nothing anywhere. And then I failed to turn up for an appointment because you have to, on universal credit, you have to go for an appointment.
Yeah.
But one of my sons got a few quid. So in July, they took me on holiday. And just because I forgot to tell them that I was away for a couple of weeks, when I got back, they sanctioned me and stopped me money for nearly a month. I got it back in the end through the appeals procedure. But these people, this government, they show no mercy to anybody.
Paul, there'll be quite a few people who might question, if you've been unemployed for 8 years, maybe it's difficult for you to get a job for reasons that we don't know, and I'm not asking you for that. I'm certainly not judging you, but that is a very long time. I mean, surely is there nothing at all that came up? I mean, there are quite a few job vacancies in this country.
A lot of the thing that you probably think this is not, but I smoke. Yeah. So, and when I try to stop, I get the nicotine patches. They pay for the nicotine patches. But a lot of these jobs, because of like the smoking ban, you can't smoke anywhere. And a lot of jobs, they're inside. And I need to have, and if you did ask, one of my friends told me that he asked to go out to have a cigarette, and they docked his wages.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, what's the point? When you've got so many rules against you to even...
I mean, the employer might say that during your smoking break, I mean, everyone's entitled to a break at some stage, but the employer might say during your smoking break that you're not working for them. I mean, that is 5 or 10 minutes where they're not getting a service from you.
Yeah, but if I go out in the day, because I live in sort of centre Clerkenwell, and I walk past the pubs, or if I go in the pub for a couple of pints or whatever, there's always people standing outside smoking outside the offices. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It puts you off of wanting to get a job, even though I really do want to get a job. Like I say, I've tried hard for 8 years, but like I say, there's nothing really there.
Okay. Paul, thanks very much indeed for your thoughts there. Archie is in Fife. What would you like to say, Archie? Good afternoon to you.
Hello there, Peter. Hiya.
Hiya.
I was just, I was listening to one of your earlier callers called Jeff.
Yes.
And he was, sort of saying about how much he's on per month and everything else. Well, it's just to reiterate that he's exactly right, the amount that he's on per month. Mm-hmm. If I can just now, this is a letter, I've only worked 2 weeks in the last 5 weeks.
Right.
And, because of just come out after having an arm operation. Now, so it's not that I can't get a job, because I can. I've got one. I just can't go to work.
Well, you're recovering from your operation. Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable.
That's right. Anyway, so it's about universal credit. Now, this is, I'm reading this off the form now, and this is right now. It says, right, you're entitled to now. This is anybody in my situation.
Yeah.
You're entitled to £716.46 per month. Now, out of that, right, they take away my £376.70 rent, which leaves me £339.76.
Okay.
But weekly, I'm left with £84.94. Now, then I've got to pay my council tax off that, which they don't help with, my electric that they don't help with, my gas that they don't help with, my food that they don't help with, any life insurances or anything else I'm having to pay, my TV licenses and everything else. So once I pay my bills, I'm left with about £35 to £45 a week for food, if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Now, I'm even in a worse position because I have a car, right? You know, because I've been working anyway, so there's no reason why I shouldn't have a car.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Anyway. But that means that if I'm, you know, on universal credit for, say, any more than another, say, 2 months,
yeah,
that means if my car insurance runs out, my car's off the road, I can't go out and go into work or anything either.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is, all of this myth about sort of people that are claiming universal credit are getting far too much. That is not true. If they're in the pub every day, or if they're smoking or doing whatever, it is because they're working on the side. It's not because they're getting too much money. You know, and
will you be able to get back to work, Archie? Do you think? Do you think you'll be?
Oh, yeah, I'll be getting back to work. I hope within the next sort of 6 weeks.
What sort of thing do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm a JCB driver.
Oh, right, okay.
Handler driver. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of construction going on, so I hope you get back. But obviously, you need your arm for that.
Listen, I won't be stopped for work at all.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
And,
well, I wish you well, Archie, and thanks for those points that you were making, and I hope your recovery goes well and you get back to work very, very soon. About that, but beforehand, I just want to talk to Anthony in Cheshire. He is in Quarry Bank in Cheshire. Anthony has given me a ring on 0344 499 1000. And Anthony, I think benefits is what you want to talk to us about. What's your point? And a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Peter. How are you, mate?
Grand, thanks. Yeah, fine.
What it is, it's about the benefit system. Now, I've worked all my life. I worked construction, and I was self-employed. Then all of a sudden, I was battling stage 4 cancer.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Anthony.
And they turned round and says I couldn't claim a penny. Now, what happened to all that money I paid into the system?
They said you couldn't claim a penny? Really?
Exactly.
Goodness me.
When I tried to do it, I couldn't claim a penny. The people who stepped in for me was Macmillan nurses. Honest to God, they was brilliant with me. And I had 3 kids at the time. A mortgage, I didn't know which way to turn. And now, my daughter, she has multiple sclerosis. Mm-hmm. Now, she's taking them to court. Now, where's the system there?
So, I mean, this is so frustrating to so many people. You have, you worked in a good, decent job, honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Something horrendous happens to you when you get cancer, and the system's not there for you. The safety net was just not there. And your daughter with MS, my best friend has MS and lives with it every day. And my aunt, an aunt who had MS before she sadly died, of another aunt who lives with MS. I know quite a lot about MS, and it's a really difficult thing to live with in so many different ways. Some people it affects them physically, some mentally, some in lots of different ways. I mean, your family's been through a lot, Anthony, and it must be very galling that the system that you paid into for so many years wasn't there as a safety net when you needed it.
Exactly, but I'm still letting people into the country. The NHS is now busted near enough, and I'm still loosening them into the country. Now, if we have to go abroad any time, we have to have insurance.
Yeah.
Now, why shouldn't they be made to have insurance before they see the NHS or the doctor?
I think a lot of people will resonate with what you're thinking there, Anthony. Just tell me what's happening with your cancer now.
I'm in remission now, but I'm still, you know what I mean, I have trouble breathing, bits and pieces like that.
Anthony, we wish you well. You've been through a heck of a lot, and we are thinking about you, and thank you for your opinions today.